Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. In today's video, we will study the POCSO Act 2012 in a simple and exam oriented manner. This is a complete overview in one video, especially useful for legal students and judiciary aspirants. The Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act 2012 is commonly known as POCSO Act, and it was enacted to provide a special law for protecting children from sexual abuse. Before this act, such offences were dealt with mainly under the Indian Penal Code. However, the IPC was not designed keeping in mind the psychological and emotional vulnerability of a children. Lawmakers realized that the children need a different kind of protection because they are not capable of understanding or resisting sexual exploitation in the same way as adults. The justice system also needed to be sensitive so that children are not traumatized further during investigation and trial. This realization led to the enactment of the POCSO Act. The Supreme Court in Alok Srivastava versus Union of India emphasized that children protection laws must be interpreted strictly and implemented effectively to safeguard children from the abuse. This judgment highlighted the importance of POCSO Act as a welfare legislation. Thus, the POCSO Act represents shift from punishment-oriented criminal law to a child-centric and protect legal framework where the best interests of children are given primary importance. Let us look at scope and nature of the Act. The POCSO Act extends the whole of India and applies to every person below the age of 18 years. The age limit is absolute and no exception is allowed under the Act. Once the victim is proved to be below 18 years, the provisions of POCSO automatically applies. A very important feature of the Act is that it is a gender neutral. This means that both boys and girls can be victims and the offender can be of any age. This removes the earlier gender bias present in the criminal law. In Independent Thought versus Union of India, the Supreme Court held that sexual intercourse with a minor wife amounts to rape, thereby reinforcing the idea that consent of a child is irrelevant. This judgment strengthened the protective scope of POCSO. The Act also has an overriding effect over the laws. If there is any conflict between POCSO and any other criminal law, the provision of POCSO will prevail to ensure maximum protection to the children. Now let us look at important definitions under POCSO Act. Under the POCSO Act, a child is defined as any person below age of 18 years. This definition is very strict and the consent of child has no legal value. Even if the child appears to agree, the law treats it as no consent. Penetrative sexual assault includes penetration of the penis, any object, or any body part into the vagina, mouth, urethra, or anus of a child. The definition is wide so that offenders cannot escape liability due to technical loopholes. In the state of Himachal Pradesh versus Sanjay Kumar, the court clarified that even slight penetration is sufficient to constitute penetrative sexual assault under the POCSO. This case is frequently cited in the exams. Sexual assault under POCSO includes physical contact with sexual intent without penetration. The focus of the law is on the intention of the accused, not merely on physical injury. Now let us look at offences and aggravated offences under the POCSO. The POCSO classifies offences into penetrative sexual assault, sexual harassment, and use of a child for pornographic purposes. This classification helps in determining punishments according to the seriousness of the offense. Certain offenses are treated as aggravated when committed by persons in a position of trust, such as police officers, teachers, doctors, relatives, or guardians. The law assumes a greater breach of trust in such cases. In State versus Muhammad Imran, the court observed that offences committed by persons in authority causes deeper psychological harm to children and therefore justify stricter punishment under aggravated provisions. Aggravated offences also include repeated abuse of offence committed during communal violence. These provisions ensure that severe crimes receive proportionately severe punishment. Now let us look at punishments and sentencing policy under the POCSO Act. The POCSO Act prescribes strict punishment to deter sexual offences against children. Penetrative sexual assault carries a minimum sentence which may extend to life imprisonment depending on the facts of the case. Aggravated penetrative sexual assault attracts even harsher punishment due to the abuse of authority or extreme cruelty involved. The sentencing policy reflects zero tolerance for crime against the children. In State of Rajasthan versus Om Prakash, the Supreme Court emphasized that the punishment under child protection law must be deterrent in nature to send a strong message to the society. Thus, the punishment under POCSO is not merely retributive but also preventive, aimed to protect future generations. Now, let us look at amendment that was done in 2019 for the existing previous POCSO Act 2012. The POCSO Amendment Act 2019 was introduced to strengthen the law in response to rising crimes against the children. The amendment increased minimum punishment for various offences. One of the most debated changes was the introduction of the death penalty for aggravated penetrative sexual assaults in extreme cases. The objective was to create fear of law among offenders. Courts have clarified that death penalty is not mandatory and must be awarded only if the rarest of rare cases, following established criminal law practices. From an exam point of view, the 2019 amendment is extremely important and often asked as a separate question. Procedure and child friendly mechanism. The POCSO Act provides a child friendly procedure to reduce trauma faced by the child victims. Statements are to be recorded at place comfortable for the child, preferably by a woman police officer. The identity of the child must be kept confidential at all the stages. Media disclosure is strictly prohibited under this act. In Nipin Saxena versus Union of India, the Supreme Court laid down strict guidelines to protect the identity and dignity of sexual offense victims, which apply equally to all other POCSO cases. These safeguards ensure that the justice process itself does not become a source of further harm to the child. The Act provides a special courts to ensure speedy trial for POCSO cases. Speedy justice is essential to prevent prolonged mental trauma of the victims. Trials are conducted in camera and the child should not be directly exposed to the accused during testimony. In state of Karnataka versus Shivana, the Supreme Court stressed that need for fast track courts in sexual offense cases to avoid delay. These special courts thus balance speed, fairness, and sensitivity in delivering the justice. Now let us look at presumption of guilt. This covers under section 29 and section 30 of POCSO Act. The section 29 and 30 introduce a presumption of guilt and culpable mental state against the accused. This is a major departure from general criminal law. Once basic facts are established, the burden shifts to the accused to prove innocence. This strengthens prosecution in child sexual offense cases. In Bizoy versus State of West Bengal, the court upheld the constitutional validity of these presumptions, stating that they are necessary due to the nature of offences. These sections are extremely important and often tested in many of the legal exams. The POCSO Act plays a vital role in protecting children and ensuring a safer society. It reflects a victim centric approach where the child dignity and well being is paramount. In a conclusion, a clear understanding of definitions, offences, punishments, procedure, and presumption under POCSO Act is required in legal practice. If you found this video helpful, please share, like, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and all the best for your exams.